Hello everyone, welcome back to customcomputing.ca. I'm doing a budget build for a buddy and I'm going to go over the parts quickly just to review. First we're going to go with the GeForce GTX 650 for the video card. The next thing that we're going to be using is the ASUS M5A97LER2 socket AMD and their second-hand 128 GB SSD from OCZ that we're going to actually put in there instead of that Intel. The CPU is going to be a quad-core uh, AMD FX 4300 with 4 GB of G-Skills Ripsaw RAM. Uh, this is 1600 megahertz. The next will be a 500 gigabyte WD Black SATA. And for the power supply, we're going to be using the Thermaltake Smart Series 550 watt power supply. There's a few other components as we progress through the build. The case is a basic EarnMax Clipius. Now, the looks of the case, exterior wise, looks as much as the price. It's a $40 case. It serves as a basic containment unit for your PC parts. You're not permitted to apparently see any of them. It does hold a possible 240 rad at the top, but in all reality, after we look inside the case, there's no room for a radiator. There's a bottom housed power supply, so you can intake from below the case and exhaust out the back. Now let's take a quick look at the interior of the box. After opening the case, you can see it's pretty basic. There is no real room for cable management. The top is too small for an actual radiator, and as you can also tell, it's pretty basic with no grommets for cable routing or what have you. So that is going to be a disaster, but there is a nice big opening for your CPU, so you can mount it and then add the bracket after you've mounted it into the. So now we've gotten the majority of the parts installed just for testing purposes before we go ahead and do anything else. The stock fan for the CPU is going to be replaced by a used H80, and the video card is going to be moved up to the standard PCIe 16 slot. This is just for testing purposes of all the parts. The SSD and the hard drive are mounted properly inside the case, and I mounted two 120mm fans exhausting at the top. Both are being used with blue LEDs, and we will be using a blue LED fan in the front for intake. The current configuration is pretty open and allows for good airflow. Here's the H80 that we're going to be trying to pop in this case. Now, it's in a push-pull config at this point, but don't know if we're going to have enough room in the case for this to be in a solid push-pull config. Said we're going to be using the Air Series SP120 High Performance Edition high static pressure fans from Corsair. These are really good for tight areas such as radiators, and if you're on the bottom of the case so you don't have a lot of airflow, these fans don't make a lot of noise as well as perform high performance. Because this was a second-hand H80, it didn't come with the Corsair Link attachment to attach to the motherboard. So we're going to be using both of these fans along with the other three fans in the case with their fan controller that we purchased. It's a manual fan controller, which is excellent because I don't like the touch screens, and this is a quick and easy way to pump up the fan speeds in your system without having to actually go into software and edit. So we're going to go ahead and install the H80 and connect all the fans to the appropriate specified fan locations on the fan controller and get back to you as soon as we're done that. Right, so we've got the H80 installed up and running and have replaced the fans with the high static pressure 120 fan. We ended up keeping the original side fan. Like I said, this is a budget build. These fans are about 20 bucks each, so I didn't feel like putting in another $40 into it uh, for aesthetic purposes. The top fans are two LED 120mm fans, and unfortunately the LEDs on one of the fans didn't work, so I ended up putting in XSPC LEDs on into the second fan there. Like I said, again, budget build. The fan controller is great. I like the fact that you can just touch it. As soon as you want to increase the speed, it will do it as soon as you touch it. The current fan controller I have on my rig is a Bitfinex touchscreen, and I hate the fact that I have to touch it like 4 times in order to get one of the fans set at a higher rate. The client is very simplistic, and they just want things simply to work, and that's what this does. So the next step is going to be cable management and pondering doing a window for him. However, as I said, I don't think I'm going to spend too much time on this because there's no lighting inside the case, as well as the components are not aesthetically pleasing that well. So we'll just probably leave it as is and go with the benchmarks. So I just wanted to go over a few other things while we conclude this video. It doesn't always have to be a top of the line build in order to get the client happy. This is a $500 to $600 build, taxes included. He adds water cooling, although it's an H80, and sufficient airflow for his needs. The graphics card is a GTX 650, which also should suffice for his lower end gaming play. You're not going to be able to run Skyrim or Crysis on Ultra, but you'll be able to run pretty much well everything, Diablo 3 and other games on Ultra pretty smoothly. The case is a basic case. You're not going to expect too much from it. As I said, I was going to do a window, but there really is no purpose in putting in all that time and effort into a case that's just there to hold the components. I tried to make it look as nice as possible on the outside with the blue LED fans and the blue ones on the top, but that's about as far as this case is going to take you. With that said, rate, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.